spiked out. I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
And hello, everybody. Hello, hello. It's This Week in Startups. We're trying to get a couple episodes in because in 2 weeks we're going to have our 50th episode. This is our 48th episode, and we're doing a 1-hour Ask Jason. At 2 o'clock, we were going to have This Week in Venture Capital with Mark Suster. And then at 3 o'clock, This Week in Cloud Computing, you've got your whole bank of shows. Lots of This Week In, interestingly, for you to consume today. Anything is on the table today. You can ask me any question. I don't care how controversial it is. I don't care if I'm supposed to answer it or not. I will answer it. So we have our first caller who's on the line, and his name is Fanbai. Let's take his call. I can hear that, by the way. Okay, Fanbai, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm great. You're calling from the 781. Are you not entertained?
Entertained? How do you mean?
It's a gladiator quote. Are you not entertained? Is that not why you are here?
I am very entertained. I am calling from the 781, which is actually being routed. I'm actually calling from Shanghai. I think I'm your first Shanghai caller.
You are the first Shanghai caller, and I haven't been to Shanghai in a little while, but do you get the crab dumplings there, the crab ovary dumplings with the straw?
Yes, that's actually pretty new. So you must have been here in the last few years.
Yeah.
That hasn't been around forever.
But I love the soup dumplings.
Yeah, they're very good.
If you go to Shanghai, get the soup dumplings. That's my piece of advice. So you have a question. Let's hear it.
Sure. So Jason, you clearly have a talent for marketing and getting reach. In 2008, actually, you wrote an email newsletter about crushing PR and all the associated lessons there.
Yep.
But if you had to come up with a formula for broader marketing, what would it look like, and what's the thought process behind it?
I think in today's world where you have people talking to each other about products and services so fluidly, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, their blogs, etc., the best marketing is making a good product. And if you're not getting a social uptick, it is most likely a problem with your product. If a product is truly great, I believe it will get some amount of a lift. There are things to catalyze that lift. There are things to jumpstart it. But I think what people typically do is they make the mistake of trying to market something that is not great. You have to have something great, and then it markets itself. The iPad, sure, Steve Jobs spent some money on marketing, but it's so good people would tell each other about it. And if you just look at the products that have become popular on the web over time, Delicious, Flickr in the web, the start of Web 2.0, Weblogs Inc., the Engadget blog, and the Autoblog blog, these things were viral in nature because of the quality of the product itself. I think that that's the place you have to start. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Seth Godin certainly is somebody to read up on this kind of stuff, and that purple cow element is kind of what you're leading to here, yeah? I mean, in one regard, not just purple cows. Purple cow is just one of a rainbow of cows potentially in terms of a strategy of making it into the
purple cow idea everybody's heard before is doing something unique. And I think frequently people do something unique on a marketing basis, maybe not on a product basis. So there was that company Grasshopper that launched. I still don't know what they do. But they sent me chocolate-covered grasshoppers. They made a list of Grasshopper this, Grasshopper that. Last week, I think they did a list of the top TechCrunch 40 companies. They basically think about what are purple cows, what are memorable items, what are unique things that are different than everything else going on in the world that will get some amount of attention, and then attach your product to it. That's okay. That's a decent marketing strategy. But the best marketing strategy I've found is that the product is, in of itself, fantastic.
Well, that's kind of like Zappos, where in their case it's a service, but the service is so good that it's the marketing.
Right. So what Zappos did, Tony Hsieh, who was on our episode at South by Southwest, he said, let's make our customer support, our phone support, ridiculous. Let's go to outrageous lengths. Obviously, somebody who was looking at the books and saying, how much can we get our calls in terms of how many minutes can we get it down to, how much cost can we reduce, would have not been able to come to the conclusion that Tony came to, which was, why buy ads when our interactions with our customers are an ad? And so people started to do insane things like bring shoes to somebody who was at a wedding and didn't order shoes on time, or return things really quick, or stay on the phone with somebody for half an hour. And we did this as a test here at Mahalo. We stayed on the phone with Zappos for like 20 minutes just goofing off. And if you want to try that, feel free. I'm sure Tony will appreciate you calling. In fact, I would like to do a contest right now. This is the Zappos Funny Phone Call Contest. And the winner of this will get something. I would like you to prank phone call Zappos and be the most outrageously demanding, ridiculous customer. And I want you to put a clock and a ticker on it right about here on your thing, on the screen. Count how many minutes you can keep them on the phone and how ridiculous. Then we will take all the Zappos phone calls, and I will make we'll play them on This Week in Startups. How about that? That'd be pretty funny. But anyway, I think you get our point. If you can make the marketing integrated into the product greatness, that's your best chance at success. Can
I challenge that by asking, quite a few of your interviewees have been concerned. The one that comes most to mind is probably Matt Coffin, where he was so focused on distribution. How is this startup going to get you distribution? You can't build it and they will. You can't have this. I will build and they will come mentality. So I agree that there are kind of the social graph has added this viral coefficient. We've just launched a product, e-commerce custom dress shirts. The company's called Blank Label, and we're a little bit, I'd like to get your perspective on. We think we have an interesting idea. It's an interesting product. It's in this mass customization space. What are the marketing ideas that we should be thinking about to get distribution?
Yeah, and it's blank-label.com.
That's right.
Yeah. So the first thing you would do is try to call into a podcast and ask a question about marketing, and have that actually be a secret embedded commercial. So good job on that, number one. That's brilliant. The second thing I would do is, I'm looking at your site right now, very beautifully designed, by the way. And I love custom shirts, and I actually get custom shirts made here that are made in Hong Kong. And the shirt I'm wearing today is from this brand called, I think it's Great Plains. I'm going to have somebody look during the commercial at what my thing says. Hey, Tyler, come around here. Oh, you can't get up. What does that say?
It's plain.
What does that say, Tyler? What does my shirt say?
Hold on, I got it.
Tyler, what does it say?
Grand Plain.
Grand Plain. So this guy from this thing, he sent me like 5 of these bright colored shirts, and I've been wearing them. And so, influencers love to get free stuff. And I was like, wow, this is so nice of this guy to send me these shirts. I love the colors, and he sent me like 3 or 4 of them. I feel socially obligated now. So I took a picture, I tweeted to 100,000 people. I wear it. I mentioned that I'm wearing these Great Plains. What is it called?
Great Plain.
Great Plain. And I just emailed the guy, and I said, wow, thank you so much for sending these. He sent me a nice note. So what I would do is, you have these crazy shirts like that kid with the 2 different color one. I would make a blank label shirt that says the Scoble, the Calacanis, the Lauren Feldman, the Arrington, and the iJustine, and I would email them and say, I want to make a free shirt for you. What is your favorite color? What is your favorite thing? I've got this great startup company, and all you have to do is get 1 out of 5 to say it, and you could say like, here's the one I made for Mark Cuban, here's the one I made for iJustine. And make these funky, crazy shirts, and it'll cost you $45 a pop or whatever, $100 a pop when you ship them, whatever it is. But for, I don't know, $3,000, you could hit 30 of these social media people and maybe get something going.
Yeah. It's great. That's a great idea.
That's what I'm talking about, the social thing. So, and then in terms of distribution, if you have some idea that is good, you will find distribution. So what distribution and marketing are really 2 different things. Marketing is, how do I spread my message and get people to fall in love with it? And distribution is, how do I move product? How do I get somebody else's audience and put my product in front of them? And usually when you're doing marketing, the costs are different than when you're doing distribution. Distribution, you usually have to do some revenue sharing and help somebody else make money. And then in marketing, it's a little bit more PR, social media marketing. These things are a little bit more art. Doing a distribution deal is strictly business. So a biz dev person, non-creative person can do a distribution deal, and a creative person can do a marketing deal. Blank label, pretty sweet idea. And maybe you can find somebody who has a very hip group of people who are their customers already, who you do not interfere with. One of the best things I saw for a clothing company, Tyler and I were on a flight on Virgin America, and one of the flight attendants was in Banana Republic.
Right.
She walks up and down the aisle and says, I'm giving away 20 pairs of Banana Republic glasses to people who have the funniest things to say in chat, in the chat room, and I wound up winning. Tyler didn't win. It wasn't a contest. Well, it was, but it's not like there's winners and losers, even though there were winners and losers.
No. Let me explain. The armrest on the Virgin flights is where your chat client
I know,
is.
and yours was broken.
No, and the guy next to me had his arm. So
It's a convenient excuse.
Yeah, I couldn't get started.
I know, but all I know is that she came to me and gave me a pair of glasses, even though I didn't even put anything in the chat room. That's a whole separate story. The point is, they took the Virgin people who are a certain demographic and they partnered with them. I'm sure they paid their way on there, but you may not have the money to do a distribution deal. But maybe I see you have, you've been getting mad props. That's really good that you got Trend Hunting and Luxist, which is a brand I created. Thank you very much. Forbes and the other people to do it. Maybe doing the Forbes shirt collection, powered by, could be really interesting. But I think you're onto something. It's a great idea. Distribution's a business, totally separate question. But the uniqueness of your product, maybe you could do design the ugliest shirt contest, and put it on Gawker or something, But very cool stuff.
Thank you so much. And final comment, Tyler Crowley, he's awesome. He's the man.
Yep.
You guys are, yes.
Yes.
I love TWiST.
Okay, and we love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so success, that's the first caller. He did a good job, and I love how people put these ads in there. We have 262 people watching. Wow, people like it. Can we get a caller? We have, I see Pat on hold, but can I get a caller from the chat room? Because I'd like to go one on the list and then one from the chat room if we can. Do we have another person from the chat room yet? You can just say yes or no, I'll hear you. Do we have a chat room person lined up? No. Okay, so why don't we get a chat room person lined up? And I guess, where can I read the questions that are coming in? Because it's going by so fast on the tweet stream.
For the people in the chat room,
yes.
If what you need to do is private message the person, the moderator, which is this week.
This week is the moderator, right? You click on that little person thing.
And let them know your Skype name, and then they will get you in. And also let them know what your question is, and then they will Skype you if you have a good question.
So Domain Noob has a question here. Did Jason have to buy the domain this week in? If so, can he tell us what he paid? It's a great question. Obviously, there's a big controversy this week about Leo Laporte had some comments to say about our use of This Week In. Obviously, Leo's a friend of mine. I feel bad that he has changed positions on, being supportive of me using the name and now not. Somebody emailed me the transcript of when we talked about it. It was very clear what we were going to do. I think that he will come around. I'm not trying to infringe on his territory, obviously. The name was available. I talked to the guy who was selling it. I can't remember. I think I paid $18,000 or $20,000 for it, something in that range. And then I've spent about $100,000 building out This Week In as a company with the studio and the staff and everything. So I'm about 120 in the hole. I think maybe 150 building this out. And my goal is not to compete with Leo, but I think there are going to be 300 or 400 This Week In shows. Everybody's using the name. I think somebody has to own thisweekin.com. I went to Leo and I said, Leo, would you like me to buy this and then give it to you? And he said, I have no interest. I said, do you mind if I use it for This Week In Startups and making a directory of all these other This Week In shows? And I want to start a couple different shows. And I will clear with you the shows I do so that I don't step on your toes. And he was like, sure, go do it. And if you go to calacanis.com, you'll see the transcript of us talking about it on the air. We talked about it on the air, I think, 3 or 4 times. So anyway, I feel bad. Maybe I did move too fast in launching so many of these. But I tend to move fast and try a lot of things. That's my style. Leo's style is a little bit more, maybe slower, and he maybe makes higher quality content out of the gate. Maybe I have the content suffer a little bit to try different things and experiment. But he's not, I think that we'll do well together. And I think that every time we educate an advertiser on our network, it's an advertiser who gets educated on his network. And I told him I would not launch anything that he wants to launch. So if he has something on his roadmap, we would not launch it. And if the This Week in iPad show is the big controversy, I'll do a joint venture with him over that. and we could each own half of it, and we could do it together. And anyway, that's the. And I think Leo. The other thing with Leo was he wasn't using the This Weekend name for all of his shows, and so I didn't think that his idea was to do. He's got. I think he has 20 shows or something, but maybe 5 of the shows on his network are named This Weekend. But most of them, 75% of them, are like Mac Weekly or This Weekly or That Weekly. So anyway, I'm friends with Leo. I'm saddened about the what he said, but I think Leo will come around. And obviously, there's a lot of other people doing This Weekend. There's This Week in Energy, This Week in Science. There's like a million This Weeks. There's more.
It gives me a great idea for a show.
What's that?
This Week in Brouhaha.
This Week in Brouhaha, absolutely. And that Jolly Bubble says if he's serious about it, he should have trademarked it. I mean, everybody loves a fight. It's not really a fight. And Leo has been very clear that he took it from This Week in Baseball. Nobody can own This Week in as a trademark itself. I mean, somebody can own the domain name This Week in. Somebody can own the domain name The. But it doesn't mean that everybody who uses the word the in their name has to give it to him. And so I think we will hug it out, and I think it'll all be good. And I'm not worried about it. Let me put it that way. I think a lot of this, we're going to create 10 shows a year. I think we're at 6 or 7 for the first year. We'll have 3 more this year. We'll do 10 next year. We'll drop the 2 that don't make traffic, and we'll replace them with 2 that do. And we're going to list all of the This Week in shows. So if there's somebody out there who's doing This Week in Energy, or This Week in Science, or This Week in Photography, or This Week in Law, This Week in Google, and I know some of those are affiliated and owned by Leo, and some are just affiliated with Leo, and some of them are not. If any of those people want to be listed on the This Week in site, we will list you there. And we'll either make it so when you hit the drop-down, you go to your site, or we'll host your stuff on our site and put it in the blog format, whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm not doing this company This Week in, and I'm just the chairman of it. Kevin Pollak and Mark Jeffrey are my partners on it. I'm not doing it to make money as much as I think. I mean, I do think there's an opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think you could make stacks. That's what business is about. But I want to do it because I think it would be fun, and I think it would be fun to work with Leo. And I'm not trying to buy This Week in Tech. I don't think Leo would sell it. Leo worked at a big company. He doesn't want that. But I can tell you that when I focus on something, sometimes people come and buy it. And I think what's going to happen is, this would be my prediction, and in some ways my hope. I hope that in 3-4 years, somebody looks at our 30 shows and says, wow, we should buy that, and then looks at Leo's 20 shows or 30 shows or 40 shows, whatever he winds up having, and says, wow, we should buy that, and Leo gets a huge exit, and Leo makes tens of millions of dollars and is able to buy an island and a helicopter, or whatever he wants to do, or not, or just runs a great lifestyle business. So anyway, that's all I can say about that subject. I mean, it's getting kind of old. I'm going to stop tweeting about it. I'm going to stop blogging about it. And if I'm not on This Week in Tech, c'est la vie. It happens. I certainly don't want to cause anybody any harm. So, I also think Leo should be glad that I got the domain and not somebody else. I mean, I'm his friend. I will do the right thing by him. Imagine if somebody who wasn't his friend got the domain name, you know? And I think that's why he can afford to buy it. I mean, if he didn't want me to have it and start building it out, he could have bought it himself. And I told him, I'll buy it secretly and give it to you. Because I knew that the person who was going to sell it would ask for $100,000 from him and might only ask for $20,000 from me.
I like this in the context of startup drama, because this happens in startups.
Yes.
But this is the show This Week in Startups, where we have to be out of here at 1:50, right, for the next show?
1:59.
And it's 1:30.
Okay, let's take another call.
Got through one call. So
2 calls. Well, somebody asked that question in the chat room.
Oh, okay.
So it does count as a call. Let's take Pat. Okay, let's take Pat. And okay. So when you guys are ready with Pat, here we go. Whoop. It just blinked and then it went away. One more time, guys. Okay. Interesting. Every time it comes in, it just makes a little quick blip and then goes away. So I'll take another call from the, all right, here we go, 10 at 1, and it just went away. So guys, it's just going straight to voicemail, and, oh my God, Leo is doing This Week in Google right now, somebody is saying. So let me take another question from the chat room while these guys get the technical issues worked out. Do we have another question from the chat room? Let's see. This Week in Theft by Jason Calacanis. What is a good VC angel firm for a medical device startup? I don't know. I'm not in that space. So if you are looking for a medical device startup, the place I would look at the people who have invested in previous medical device companies and work backwards. But I don't think angels do medical device companies too much.
Certainly you have pharmaceutical angels. There's video game angels, and they have different deal structures. I was talking with a game developer last night. He was explaining how they go about raising money for their video games. It's more like a movie than a startup.
Yeah, it's like a bond or something.
It's weird. Yeah, very weird financing.
So here's another question. I have a prototype for a TV web hybrid. I don't know any TV executives or investors. What should I do? And that, I think, is you are not going to be able to do much. A lot of people have made prototypes for interactive TV. Interactive TV is going to happen on like set-top boxes in general or on a web page. And you're going to, just because you think you can design it, you're not really providing too much value. And if you look at DirecTV, as much value as TiVo had, they still kicked it out and used their own PVR. So they're not going to give up that space. I would try to do something different.
There's an interesting one about the group buy phenomenon. Is there still room left to innovate in group purchasing?
Oh, group purchasing. That's a good question, too. I guess you're talking about Groupon.
Right.
And there seem to be hundreds of these now, sample sale, Woot-like sites.
Right.
I don't know that there is not innovation in that space left to happen. But I do think that the people who will get the number 1, 2, and 3 slot are being quickly defined because the VCs have put a ton of money into them. And even if they're not the most innovative, they will have the most capital to put to work, and they will wind up winning. So if you're okay with doing something maybe smaller and being number 7, 8, 9, 10, number 50, sure, do it. But I would pick something niche and something where nobody else is performing.
Right. Just food or just...
Yeah,
clothes
or just a city. Like I'm doing strictly the west side of Los Angeles. I'm doing Chicago.
Is that something that a bigger company like a Google could get into and leverage, all of that mojo they have, where Google could go to like Toyota and say, "What if we could move 100,000 cars for you?"
I think that those conversations actually probably occur with the sales department saying, "What if we can deliver you X number of qualified leads from Google AdSense already?" But Google is never going to shill their homepage. However, it would be a brilliant move for someone like a Yahoo to take the Groupon thing and put it on their homepage. And if they said, there's 1,000 of these objects today being sold in a clearance, this is like the Yahoo deal of the day, they could move 10,000 of something or 1,000, and that would really, really be a great idea. It's not a bad idea for a company like Yahoo that's got serious problems.
Right.
So yeah, I could see an AOL doing it or whatever. I mean, they have the distribution, they have the audience. It's a brilliant idea. I don't think that you should go to work at Yahoo. I hear they're hiring. All right, let's take another call. Here's a good question. Will This Week In partner with indie producers? We will get you on that one. Hello, Pat. Pat, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Pat. You are calling from the +61 433, whatever that is. Where are you, and what is your question?
Well, hello, Jason. Hello, Tyler. I'm calling from Australia. Actually, Canberra, Australia, so the capital, southeastern Australia. My question is, my mate and I, we run a small web development business, and we've been doing this for about 3 years now. And we've gotten to the point where we, I guess you could say, are looking to move on. And we're trying to value the business to get, a saleable price. Because we've been talking to some larger web development companies, and it seems like there could be some interest in our client base. And I guess, how does one go about valuing their saleable price for a business?
Yeah, so there are bankers in every space, known as wankers in London. And these bankers can very easily look at the last 5 or 10 transactions that have occurred. They have access to that data and tell you what percentage of EBITDA or top-line revenue or reoccurring revenue people got for those buyouts. Now, when people buy one of these firms, they're typically buying not only the client relationships, but they're also buying the talent. And so that is going to impact the price as well, whether you guys want to stay or not. And a lot of times when you get a buyout in a service-based business, they will say, we'll buy this for 2 times revenue, 5 times earnings. However, you have to be here for the earnout, and we need you to be here for 3 years. So it actually turns out to not be worth doing. In some cases, maybe it's better to hire somebody as a general manager of the firm and continue to make the profit. And then if you ever want to go back to it, you can. Because the amount of work it takes to sell one of those service-based businesses is hard. I've had friends who have sold them,
Sure.
and it's oh my God, I got a $10 million price on this service business because we make $2 million in profits a year. And then it's year 3 and they still haven't made it, and it's a bad year, and they're earning, and they have to fight to get their earnout. It's really hard. If you can get all of the money up front and walk away totally, maybe it's a good call. But generally, it's hard. And another possibility for you to do is to keep the service business going, and build your other business while the service business is going. So a lot of people, in fact, Gowalla, which I'm an investor in, the Foursquare competitor, and they're doing a great job. That was a service business, and they were making millions of dollars a year from what I understand. They built Gowalla like one summer for fun. It got traction. They raised a ton of money, and now they basically just stopped taking clients and wound that business down.
Sure.
So that's what I would do if I was you. Is your next business are you going to do a next business with your partners?
Well, there's two aspects to that. One is we definitely want to start looking at building our own products because we've always had the ideas but no time, and so that's where that decision. But also, the two of us are, I guess, as you say, Gen Y, both 25, 26 years old, and we're looking to get some further experience in our, areas of expertise. Myself, I'm a mechatronic engineer, and my business partner, Chris, he's a web developer and digital artist, and we'd like to get a bit more experience in those fields for a year or two before we come back and maybe go it again for the second round. I guess I just had one addition to the question is, I know you've mentioned in previous episodes that goodwill is diddly squat, but in the instance where you have been talking, we've got one large client, a large organisation who we started talks with about a preferred supplier agreement, and they approached us to take that up. We've since not taken that up because we're looking to move on to do the right thing by them. But given that relationship exists, does that now make our goodwill worth something in any sale?
It might. I mean, you have companies that have like Razorfish back in the day that have some brand recognition. So you can say there's some goodwill for the name, that might get you some meetings. It depends on if somebody needs to get a foothold in your geographic location. And so you're only going to know that by talking to people and saying, do you need to have a foothold in this geographic location? And so this is where a banker can actually provide value. And there are probably small banks in Australia that will do this. And you can just look at other people who have been bought, call the CEOs, tell them the situation you're in. They'll have good advice. Just tell them you want to buy them a beer or something, or buy them a coffee. And I find entrepreneurs tend to help each other. You can just go talk to a banker and just lay out what we've discussed. And it may cost you 5%, and they may ask you for $5,000 a month as a retainer. You can ask them, I want to waive that fee. I'll give you 6%, or I'll give you 5% if you sell it for $1 million, 6%, or 8% for the second million, and 30% for the third million. So they get really incentivized to try to hit those next things, so like a stacked kind of thing. But they'll do it without you having to. They'll do it without you having to pay a fee. So good luck with it, and keep in touch, and we'll see you when we're in Sydney next year.
Okay, thanks guys, and enjoy.
Cheers now, bye. All right, we're doing good. I want to keep moving and try to get these in. We have Jamie from the conference industry who has a call on Skype. So let's take that call on Skype. And let me just say, I would like to thank Ustream for, of course, providing our HD quality streams. They do it every week, and 350 people in the chat room, which is always great. DNA mail, everybody loves DNA mail. Why would you host your own mail? That is insane. Only an insane company would do that. Go get your Microsoft hosted exchange at DNA mail, $295, 99.99% uptime, free 30-day trial, free activation and setup, free 24-hour support, 7 days a week. And they do SharePoint, they do CRM, they do everything. And, of course, they do Google Mail as well. And what a great company. They do all their customer support here in the United States, which does mean something. You're going to get somebody on the phone who's going to really do a great job for you. And, of course, let's thank WebSpy, run by great guys, also from Australia. And you can analyze all your network traffic, identify excessive bandwidth consumption, yes, and other things like that. They provide a transparent view of everything going on in your email usage, internet, network usage, etc. And they are a total log analysis solution. And of course, PowerVPS. They've been supporting the show from the beginning, and they will offer you free hosting in the start. I think they get the first month free or something like that. We'll have to check that. Is the first month free? Anyway, they will give you 25% off for life if you use the code TWiST, TWiST. Starts as low as $59 a month, www.powervps.com. Fully managed virtual private hosting with great customer service at an amazing price. Thank the sponsors on your Twitter account right now. Thank you to @Ustream, @DNAmail, @WebSpy, and @PowerVPS. You guys are awesome for supporting independent media. We truly appreciate your support of the This Week In network. Okay, we have a question on Skype. Audio only.
Hi, Jason.
Yes, hello.
How you doing?
Good, it's Jamie.
Yes, Jamie Rumbelow. I'm calling from Cambridge in the UK.
Cambridge in the UK, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. So I've just got a bit of a question about the conference industry, and especially web conferences. Now, we've got live streaming, Ustream, and Justin.tv, and on-demand video, social networking, all that sort of stuff. And I'm finding that there's a lot of less of an incentive to go to conferences and actually meet people face-to-face. And I think the conference industry is struggling because of it.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple of companies like Carsonify, for instance, that do solely events, and that's how they survive. And I'm just interested in what your thoughts are on how the whole conference industry is going and where it's going to be.
Sure. I've obviously produced conferences for a long time. I produced my first conference in 1996. I think it was called Meet the Alley in New York City, and I've been doing them ever since. TechCrunch 50. Obviously, I brought that idea to Mike Arrington. We did it successfully for 3 years. Open Angel Forum, all these different events I've done over my career. I love events. People are always going to want to meet in person, so that's not going to go away. Some things have made that difficult after 9/11. People thought that it would go away. It didn't. After the financial crisis, people thought it would go away. It hasn't. But Carsonified has done, and I just got invited. I'm speaking at Carsonified's web conference. They're doing a call-in conference.
100 things.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing that event, and Ryan does an amazing job on his events. Future of Web Apps is a great event I spoke at London. So there'll always be those events, and you can make money from them, and you're going to want to, if you're going to plan on doing them, you want to start small and you want to be successful. So managing expectations is very important. If you're starting out, do it on something very niche. Do a conference just on the iPad for iPad developers, and do it just for one day, and do it just for 75 people, sell out, and have it be an amazing event where you've vetted everything that's on stage. And that was always the approach I took to conferences, was extremely high quality, and I started small. And then I got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where there were thousands of people at the event, and the events made millions of dollars. But you want to start small, and you want to really focus on quality, and remember that your responsibility is making sure that the people who are on stage do an amazing job presenting to the people in the audience, and the people in the audience get value for their dollar. It's sort of like that Gordon Ramsay talks about with food. It's like, if they're coming to your event, they need to get a value. If they're spending $500 or $1,000, it's your responsibility to get them value, and not just to do 5 panels, invite 8 people to each panel, and see what happens. You should actually do presenters who present for 15, 20 minutes and give an excellent presentation that you have pre-vetted and that Tyler has watched. That's what I do. I have Tyler watch everything. Advice on the conference business, where it's going?
To get back kind of to his point, though, about how when people are streaming all these things, it does lose some of the incentive to want to have to attend these things on some level.
I don't know.
But I think there's going to be a way to monetize that streaming. Or there already sort of is, but I think that's going to become, like, I would pay $5 to watch the Twitter conference or
Maybe.
the Facebook conference.
I think it builds the audience for it, I'll be honest. If you watch TechCrunch 50 on the stream this year, or you did like 2 years ago, or the first year, you'd say, wow, I really want to be there next year.
I want to be there, yeah.
And so I think what it does is you wind up creating a big funnel. And the funnel was previously like, here are the people who considered going, and here's the people who went. Now you've got, here are the people who have actually seen it, know why it's awesome, and see everybody milling around. Now you have that they're considering it, and now who's going, and it just makes it bigger. And the people who are the sponsors are going to get great value out of saying like, hey, thank you to these sponsors. And we had, 10,000 people watching concurrently at the last TechCrunch 50?
Yep.
Hundreds of thousands of people over a day. So I think it's additive. I don't think it removes anything from it. You look at the TED conference. If it's a great conference and you webcast it, it's only going to make more people want to go to it.
Well, the other argument is that it keeps out people who don't really want to be there. You only get the people who really need to be there buying the tickets. Like if the looky-loos can watch at home, so the people that are there are there to network.
I think some events are about who is not able to come. Certainly like TED makes its bread and butter by telling people not to come and making it hard for people to come and being exclusionary. I like events that people can get into. I always at TechCrunch 50, I've given away a lot of free tickets to entrepreneurs and people at schools. So it depends on the type of event. But I think events, the world is changing very rapidly, and the trends are coming faster. And what people use events for is to try to understand these trends and discuss them and network around them and capitalize on them. So I think the conference industry is going to continue to grow.
And there's something to be said about the fact that nobody's managed to really pull off a or a fully virtual conference. Because it's technically doable, but the fact that it hasn't been done, I think, leads one to at least assume that there's a lot of value still in the in the meat space.
So great question. Thanks for calling in.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take a rapid fire one. Demand Media IPO. Domain Noob asks, just Demand Media IPO. Yes, I saw Richard Rosenblatt. He had front row seats at the Lakers game last night. Next to Jim Wyatt, the head of William Morris Agency. However, he was not hanging out with Phil Jackson afterwards, like I was. So he may have had first row and had fourth row, but that does show you, like as you get to the first row of the Lakers game, that's how close you are to the IPO. So I think if we're in row 4, that means we're about 5 rows from our IPO. I'm just kidding. But it was funny to see him there last night, and afterwards it was very cool. I got invited to go, back to where the locker room area is under the Staples Center. I've never been down there. And then a friend who knows Phil Jackson was like, oh, Phil Jackson, Jason Calacanis. And Phil said, oh, yeah, let's sit and have a drink. And we hung out for half an hour talking about life and basketball and the Knicks from the 70s. It was crazy. Jason, what kind of startup would you launch if you were starting from zero today? And that is from JTH213. Oof, I have so many startups I want to start, and that's why I've decided to angel invest. I have I have ideas around angel investing that I would like to pursue, but I'm going to leave it at that. I think that there are the financing of things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, like those two companies that are funding things. I think there is something there, and I might have something to contribute.
I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that, being they didn't get to the final round of the OAF, and they were really.
I don't think competitive with those. I mean, Kickstarter is for people doing albums, and Indiegogo is for independent projects. I'm talking about more, how do startups get funded?
No, I mean, I think they'll be glad to hear that you really liked what they were doing.
I like
considering they got.
The thing is, I can't do anything more. I started this weekend as a company. I got a CEO for that, Mark Jeffrey. I started Open Angel Forum with you, Tyler, and we got Jason Crude as the general manager of that. I just pushed those two things off my plate. I'm going to be a figurehead at those companies. I'll attend 5 of the 30 events a year for Open Angel Forum, and I will do my show, which I've been doing for this weekend. But I got to be focused on Mahalo. That's going to be 90% of my effort, and then the other 10% can be angel investing in other things.
I think we have Dan on hold.
Yeah, let's take Dan. We are plowing through calls. Dan, what's your question?
Hey, is this Jason?
This is Jason. What's your question? Wow, bad connection.
Hello?
Yes, Dan, question.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Should I fire away with my question?
Fire away.
Fire away. Okay, so a paragraph of background would be that I dropped out of college senior year to go full-time with my current project, and this venture is entirely bootstrapped. It's doing well and moving toward replacing me as manager with possibility of acquisition. And so if I find myself with no degree but a definite success in terms of a successful exit under my belt, am I wise to finish my bachelor's at a not so prestigious school, or even go on to get an MBA somewhere more prestigious? Or is one successful startup enough of a resume to easily raise venture money for a next project?
Yes. So if you have had one successful exit, there is no reason to go back to school. There is no reason to get your MBA. You are now in an elite group of people who can raise funding forever in general. If people see that you've sold something, you have set yourself apart. I can tell you clearly that after I sold Weblogs Inc., it was as if I grew 3 feet and I gained 100 IQ points and I became 50% better looking.
Excellent.
People treated me absolutely completely different because I had sold the company for a lot of money. That is unfair, but it is the state of affairs. And so that is why I always encourage entrepreneurs who have the opportunity to sell for some amount of money, that is millions or tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, to do it as quickly as possible and then go to another project, because then you can get more resources and do that project bigger. I'm a big fan of iterating, taking money off the table, and doing the next idea, the next idea, the next idea. Unless your idea happens to be so fantastic that you think you're never going to have another better idea, which has happened to people in life. I don't think Weblogs Inc. was my best idea ever. I think Mahalo is probably my best idea ever. That's why I'm continuing to pursue it. But if you're Zuckerberg and you get Facebook and you say, you know what, this is the best idea ever, sure, stick with it. But going to school, if you're an entrepreneur, gosh, if I could do it over again, I would have totally skipped college and just become an entrepreneur. I think it was a total waste of time, or 80% waste of time. I don't think you're, and if my daughter, comes to me after a year of college and says, you know what, I want to just be an entrepreneur, I'd be like, let's do it. Great. I'll be your seed investor. Let's build a company together. School is for suckers. Go start another company. Congratulations on your exit. Take your money and go on to the next thing. On to the next one. On to the next one.
Cool deal.
Cheers.
Thanks.
All right. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? On to the next one. On. You know that song?
Yeah.
On to the next one. Get your money and make it stack.
Charles on Skype here?
Charles on Skype. Let's hear it.
This video?
I don't know. We'll find out in a second.
Fine. My question is, I've some people telling me that venture capital is like rocket fuel. So if you don't have what you're trying to do really focused, you might blow a launch pad. So the question is, how do you know when to capping and when to actually raise capital?
Yeah, this is a great question. Just in case people didn't hear it properly, raising venture capital is like putting fuel in a rocket. You have a chance of making it to space and getting to orbit, or blowing up and dying in a fiery death, igniting the launch pad, spiraling out of control, and it can be horrific. And that is the truth, actually. However, the real cost is not somebody's life. It's a couple of $1 million in venture capital, which the venture capital firms have assumed that a certain percentage of the money that they invest is going to get burned at the launch pad. It's just the nature of the beast. They launch 5 rockets expecting one to make it to orbit. If you're one of the 4, at least you tried to lift off your rocket. So I wouldn't worry about the venture capitalist money too much. I mean, you should have a healthy respect for it, but as long as you do something really good and you try, they're not going to be mad at you. Now, should you use venture capital, and what point should you, put that fuel in the engine? If you've got experience, if you've got a great team, if you're in a great market, if you've got product traction, these are good reasons to maybe hit the gas. If you don't have your team assembled, if you don't have a product that you feel is good and that people are responding well to, if you don't have some revenue coming in perhaps, or an idea of where the revenue will come from eventually, you might want to wait until you have the right team, the right product in the right market before you hit the gas. And with Mahalo, as an example, I knew I could build the right team. I got some people early on. I knew I was in the right market, knowledge sharing, Q&A, search, Wikipedia, About, Yahoo Answers, Google. These are all great companies. I'm in the right market. And I knew that people were responding to these kind of services. I had seen services out there that were getting traction. So I knew the stars were kind of aligned. If I started deploying some capital, I would figure it out. And of course, lo and behold, we're over 10 million uniques and we're the number 200 site. And we are figuring it out 3 years later. And it does take 3, 4, 5 years. And Mahalo will be a top 100 site next year, and we'll be a top 50 site the year after. In 5 years, we'll have built one of the top 50 sites with the help of venture capital. my second company, Weblogs Inc. We used a little angel investing money from Mark Cuban. Thank you very much. Go Mavs. I think Mavs are going to the final versus the Cavs. Mavs versus Cavs. In that case, we deployed a little bit of capital because actually we didn't know how big blogs would get. In hindsight, yeah, it got big, but actually that business would not have been a good venture-backed business, I don't think. So let's take our final caller. The fake Dvorak. Nah, there's somebody in there who's the fake Dvorak. Nah, my hollow sucks. Nah. Okay, here we go. Final call. Hello, our final caller, Andrew.
Yeah, this is Andrew. Save the best for last, obviously. That's good.
Of course. You're calling from and your question.
Yeah, my question is, I've launched a search engine of sorts where we are launching, and basically we're in a very niche market. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, what is the best way to monetize this? I mean, obviously there's a few different ways you can monetize, sites, obviously, as everybody knows, but in your opinion, for a site that's very niche, the people that would be trafficking the site are very targeted. Mm-hmm. What would your idea for the best way to do that would be?
This is a very easy question to answer. Search is driven by people clicking and trying to find information, find services. The reason why Google has become the huge company that it is because they have those clickable ads right up top. When people do a search, they have told you exactly what they're looking for, which means you can give an exact answer. They're in the cognitive mindset of absorbing an advertisement and clicking on things, and there's a revenue model there. So I would not stray from what has made Google awesome, which is cost per click advertising. That being said, if you have a very targeted market, you might want to put cost per click ads there that then send people to your own lead generation business. So if you're having a search engine for medical professionals and you know they're doctors or whatever, you may want to go to a drug company and say, when they do a search for something, it says, take a free course in, this drug and how it interacts with other things, or take a web seminar, give us your information, we'll email you, and we'll set up a consultation. That kind of stuff is fantastic for making money because then you're not just paying per click 25 cents or 50 cents. You're saying, I'm going to give you a lead, a solid lead that you can follow up with for $1, $2, $3, $4. And people love that lead gen. So look up lead gen, and that's the way I would go.
Alrighty. You don't think that it's getting kind of billboardy? People are starting to kind of ignore the ads on top of Google and stuff?
No. Actually, they look at the ads as content. So when you're on a mission and you type in, Toyota Prius Santa Monica, you're looking for the Santa Monica dealership, and if they put a link up there, you'll click it. The other day, I was searching for Google Chrome to download it for Mac, and I actually clicked on the ad. I've been using the web since, before there were images, and I, like an idiot, clicked on the ad instead of Google Chrome, which was the link below it. I just wasn't paying attention, and I realized, I clicked on an ad. I just cost Google 25 cents that they got to charge themselves. I don't know how they do that, but no, it works for a reason, and there might be the 5% like domain noob or whatever who use ad block, but there's the other 20% of the people on the web who just click everything, and then there's the other 70% or whatever in the middle, 75% in the middle who may or may not click or click not that often. But you will bring in the dough with just that 20% who are hyper clickers.
Okay.
Good luck with it.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we've done a successful job. This has been an awesome episode. Thank you, Tyler.
Got it up to 500. Just in time for this week.
Well, we're going to start this week in Venture Capital with Mark Susser. Are you going to sit in for that?
I'll sit in for that. I love Mark. That's like my favorite new show.
Is it really?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good. So maybe Tyler will sit in. Everybody stay in the chat room. Great questions. Maybe we'll take a question on this week. Since the question stuff is going well, we'll take a question on this week in Venture Capital. But let's keep this train moving. And we're going to turn the mics off for 1 second so you guys don't hear a bunch of nonsense. But stick with us. And this week in Venture Capital will be starting in exactly 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.